Hey, hello. Welcome to episode number 102 of the People We Love podcast. I am Adam Choit. What's up? If you're new here, what I do is interview people from all walks of life, most often comedians and other artists about their lives and careers. It's casual conversation, but I also ask everyone to highlight someone they love, someone who they admire, who influenced them, inspired them, or supported them. For more, check out peoplewelovepodcast.com. That's peoplewelovepodcast.com, and the Instagram handle is at peoplewelovepodcast. And you can find me on Instagram as well at Adam Choit, my name, if you want to follow me, and it's the same on Twitter at Adam Choit. And please remember to tap subscribe or follow on whatever platform you listen to podcasts on. And of course, positive reviews on iTunes are greatly appreciated for sure. So, today's guest, comedian Irene, grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, but really got more hardcore into comedy at Berkeley and while living in the Bay Area. This former kid basketball point guard has gone through at least a couple of identity crises in her life and tells me all about her journey of self-discovery as a person and as a comedian, and all about the influence and inspiration of one particular comedian, the one and only Ellen DeGeneres. But before we get started, just a heads up, the gardener was super loud outside my window while we were recording. But I guess due to my super soundproofy mic setup, it was not really very audible, if at all. But during the convo, you'll hear the gardener at least referenced by me. So that's why. But other than that, let's I think we're ready. Let's get started. Here's Irene 2. So it's good to see you today, Irene, too. Thank you for joining me on the Zoom here.
Thanks for having me.
How are you holding up during this super fun 2020 and 2021 we're into now, these last couple of years or so?
I was just about to say, it's not, when you said 2020, I was like, it's 2021 now. But then you said, you mixed
It's all one
together.
thing. It's all kind of one thing.
No, it's not. I like to think of
not?
2020 as the past and 2021 is the future. So this year, positive vibes only. Last year, everything was terrible. I felt very depressed for at least half of the year, and now we're cooking. Things are happening this year.
That's good. I'm happy to hear that. I think I tried to stay positive throughout this. You know, I think everyone's at least had their moments in their days for sure. But
Yeah.
we can get into it. Why don't you tell me about the early days, like maybe even like earliest kind of memories? I ask people like, 3-4 years old, anything that jumps out at you, like what's your kind of background and where you're from, and we can kind of dive into some of that stuff.
Earliest
Area?
memory.
You're
I'm
from
not
the
from
Bay
the
Area.
Bay. I'm not
Not
from the
Bay Area, because I was looking at your
from the
comedy.
Bay.
I'm like, yeah,
I know. I did comedy in the Bay, but I'm not from the Bay.
That's where comedians define themselves as from. It's the city that you is that I'm asking. Yeah, that's like what it is. Like you're from the
kind
city
of, yeah. Like if a comedian like asks me where I'm from, sometimes I'll say the Bay or whatever, because that kind of is where my home base is comedy wise. But I grew up in Chicago.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
tell me about that.
I grew up in the suburbs, pretty average, boring childhood. Nothing exciting happened. I'm an only child, so it was like me, a lot of reading. I played basketball as a kid, which I loved. So most of my day was spent playing basketball, going to school, and then doing homework, and then watching a little bit of cartoons when I got a little bit older. Like that was it.
Sounds like a good, pleasant life, though. Did you have?
It was kind of pleasant. Yeah, I was. Oh my God, I was so happy as a kid, and I'm trying to get back to that place now where I feel that same way. Right?
We all are in one form or in one way or another, trying to get back to that.
Isn't that crazy? Like when you're a kid, you just like want to be an adult, and you're like, I want to live on my own and be an adult. And as an adult, you're like, I want to be a child again.
Yeah, I want to be both at the same time.
Literally do not want to. No, I don't want to be an adult at all. I want to be 5 and just play outside and go to recess.
But you can't do what you want when you're a kid. Maybe you can or did.
Oh, I was kind of left alone as a child, so I kind of did what I wanted. But I never did anything crazy because that wasn't really my personality type. So I just like stayed within the parameters of being a good kid. But I never like had a curfew or anything.
Yeah. What did you read? What were you reading?
I liked like mystery novels, like the whodunit books, you know, when you try and figure out who committed the crime. I loved Harry Potter, read a lot of Garfield.
Garfield, I read in the
Yeah,
the
the
comic
comic.
strips. Yeah,
Loved the comic strips. Yeah, that's I always liked kind of funny stuff and then kind of murder mystery-esque books. Yeah.
interesting. I'm curious if you ever did anything, pursue anything creatively in that sort of vein, the murder mystery, because obviously we're going to get more into comedy and the cartoons and some of the other stuff you were into at the time. I could kind of see that, but like
Yeah.
murder mystery, like where
I wanted to be a
that go?
spy. I wanted to be a spy for a long time. Well, maybe not long time, but as a kid, I was like, I'm going to be a spy. And I would buy the like little spy gadget kits. But then I think I realized what it really took to be a spy. And I was like, I don't want to do that.
I just thought of something because I was watching I've seen you perform, and I was watching a little bit of your act, and I was thinking you're like, I want to be a spy. And then I was thinking you kind of have been a spy. Like when I think about like the restroom stuff, and people can't really identify like what exactly is going on.
Yeah.
Is she in the right place?
Right.
Kind of thing. I'm like, so you kind of like in some ways do you feel like you've lived undercover, but something in that vein?
I guess in a way that makes sense. Yeah, I guess like gender wise, I feel like I'm not traditionally like a girl, but I like also don't really identify as like a boy. So it's like in the middle. But I actually do tend to get along with pretty much anybody. So sometimes I do feel like a spy in that way, where like I'll hang out with like the most sorority-esque girl and like we'll get along, and then I'll hang out with like bros and it's also chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean, because I feel like I might be the same way, where like I feel like I'm the type of person who can hang out with anyone, any type of like people, and get along with them. But maybe I just like to think that, and that might not be totally true. That's also possible. It might just
That's also possible. Yeah.
But if you think it and you pursue that, then it must be happening to some degree, I would think, if that's like how you're acting.
I mean, I feel like people like to tell me their secrets, and it's not like I'm seeking it out, but people tend to tell me a lot of information, and I'm good at keeping secrets. So I'm like, ooh, is that a spy? I don't know.
I'm average at telling secrets. I don't think I'm like somebody's going to tell everybody everything, but I might tell one or two people something.
Yeah.
I'm not the best. I'm okay.
Yeah. Well, you don't want to tell other people's secrets. You mean telling your own secrets?
Well, if you could tell someone else's secrets, to tell something about someone, the two people don't know each other. They're not in the same circle.
Okay.
Like that. I guess that's the type of thing I'm thinking about.
So you're narking on people.
Yeah, I'm a terrible person. This is not about me though. I want to hear more about basketball, because you said you also like basketball. Position, how skilled were you? How far did we go?
I was a point guard. I was very good at dribbling when I was a kid. Great layup. All right, great form. Really killed it. Loved to shoot a three. I played throughout middle school, and then I tried out when I was in high school, but I realized that I was not as good as everybody else, and then I didn't end up playing in high school. There were like 2 days of tryouts, and I just didn't go to the second day because I was like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
Did you feel bad about that? Did that suck? Did you not care?
Oh, no, I felt very bad about it. I kind of regretted it for like my whole high school career. I was like, oh, I should have tried. Like, if I went to the second day of tryouts, I would have been on the team, at least when I was a freshman, because they kind of took everybody that tried out. And I wasn't bad. I just wasn't as good as everybody else anymore. And I was like very good when I was a kid. But then when you get to high school, and our team was, I think, pretty good in high school. So you could just see how much better everybody was. Like they were on traveling teams, or, they were like trying to play semi-professionally at least. And I was just playing every day outside my house.
Yeah.
So, and I'm a little bit shorter than a lot of the other girls.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although I did watch like one of those like 3-point contests or whatever. And one of the college girls that was playing was like 5'5", and I'm 5'5". So I was like, man, I could have played.
Yeah, it's always good to see someone who looks like you in one form or another that you can relate to, who's in the public eye, to like, I don't know, be inspired by, I guess. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I'm only a couple of inches or so taller than that. So I love, short basketball players for
Yeah, I
sure. For
mean, I feel
sure.
like the short basketball players, real very good ball handlers, great outside range, you know?
The thing is that no one wants to buy Shaquille O'Neal's shoe. No one's fucking buying Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's shoe as much. This is true. They
It's
only want to
true.
buy
That's
like
true.
Steph Curry's shoe, Michael Jordan's shoe, because
Yep.
just even just like the body frame of the person, it's more like relatable. Who the fuck can relate to like Shaquille O'Neal like wearing their shoe? I'm Shaq. Like maybe some
Yeah.
like big dudes. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not as fun to watch them play, in my opinion, but also I'm just shorter, so I'd like to watch them weave around and shoot threes. But yeah, for a long time, I was kind of sad about not playing because I played basketball so much as a kid, and then when I stopped playing it, I kind of had an identity crisis.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, what else were you pursuing or doing or interested in outside of like just academics or whatever? I'm guessing it sounds like you were a good student, like throughout
Yeah, I was a pretty
school.
good student, and then I stopped playing basketball, and I did kind of have an identity crisis, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do as a career. I was always like very good at science and math, kind of also, but I didn't love math. I just was good at it, and then science I was interested in, but I didn't necessarily want to be a scientist, so I was like trying to figure that out. And then I went to like this summer camp I think when I was a sophomore maybe, and it was like a science thing. And then I had a crush on one of the girls there, so then I realized I was gay, which I did not tell anybody till I was in college. And she told me I was funny, and I'd always been like kind of funny, like picking on my friends and stuff, but nobody had ever told me I was funny. And when she said that, I was like, oh, like maybe I am funny. So then I kind of looked into doing comedy. And I also loved Ellen. So it all was like one thing where I'm like, oh, I like watching Ellen. She's funny. Um, this girl thinks I'm funny. Like, let's just and I'm not playing basketball anymore, so I'm freaking out. Let's just try doing that. So I like took some stand up classes and did improv. And then now I still do stand up.
That's awesome, and that's so cool to hear because it sounds like you solved your identity crisis. Like you said, you're interested in all those mysteries. You solved maybe that was a big one, like in
Yeah.
your own life there, like an identity crisis, and then you're like, oh, I'm gay and I love comedy, and this girl, and it all came together, and Ellen,
I mean, I'm making it seem easier than it was. Like
Oh
obviously
yeah, yeah.
it took a
Period of
while.
over a period of,
Yeah, yeah,
over a
yeah, yeah.
period of time, but these dots are certainly ones that can be connected.
Yes, yes, definitely.
What was it, were you watching any other comedy at the time besides Ellen? Like what? Yeah, I mean, let's kind of tell me like the moment like you started doing, I guess, stand up, and like where did you go to college? Like what happened after high school?
Yeah, so I took some classes at the Second City in Chicago because that's where I'm from, and everybody goes there to take comedy classes. So I did improv. I took some improv classes there. Did stand up classes there. Took some like sketch writing classes there. Just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in comedy exactly. And then when I was in college, my end of my freshman year, there was like a new stand up comedy kind of like group on campus.
What
And
school
my
is this?
I went to Northwestern for a couple years and then I transferred to Berkeley. But yeah, one of my friends was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to this stand up not like it was like an extracurricular activity. There's like, oh, I'm going to go to the stand up club, basically. I was like, okay. So I joined and it was really fun. And I'm like, oh, okay, maybe I'll start doing this. So then that summer I started doing more stand up. And then the next year we had like shows on campus and I really got into doing stand up and I felt like I really fit in with people that were in this club, which I hadn't felt before. And yeah, I kind of just kept doing stand up on the side of, me studying till I graduated. And by the time I was a senior, I was like, I don't care about anything that I'm studying enough to want to do this for the rest of my life. I'm basically just in school so I can also do stand up. Like I just wanted to do comedy the whole time. So I was like, I'm just going to see how long I can do comedy for
Well, I
before
love
I
when
have to get a
comedians
job.
tell me. I
Yeah.
love when comedians tell me that kind of stuff. I don't know what it is. It's just like you have such the sureness of like, this is what I am. This is what I want to do. This other stuff is a waste of time. And it's almost like, it's funny. I think that's why I enjoy hearing that, because it's like this idea of like being in school, you're kind of like almost done and like, but it's like, all right, I'll finish or whatever. But I just want to pursue comedy. I love it. It's what it's what it
Yeah.
sounds
I mean,
to
I
me.
wish I had the balls to just drop out of college once I knew, but my parents wanted me to get a degree, so I was like,
Yeah,
okay, I'll
there's other
finish. Yeah.
forces. There's other forces,
Yeah.
there's logic and reason to behind wanting to finish too. What about like your act and the creative journey and like the writing and when you first started out, like were you good?
Oh, when I first started out, no, I was not good. I also, when I first started out, thought I was going to be an observational comic, like Seinfeld or like Ellen's stand up is very observational, because she was my favorite comedian. So I was like, oh, I'll just do jokes like her. And that's why I started doing stand up and then I stopped for a while and I just did improv because I didn't really understand stand up because I'm not really an observational comic in that way. Um, it didn't really make sense to me writing the jokes like that. I didn't think that was like fun. It just was difficult. And then when I finally wrote jokes that were more personal or like funny to me, like things that would happen to me that I thought were funny, then I kind of got it, and I was like, oh, this is the kind of comedy that I want to do. And then, slowly over time, I feel like I'm finding my voice, it takes forever, but like, now I think I'm close. I don't want to jinx it, but I do feel like any new bit that I'm working on now, I'm like, oh, this is like what I want to talk about.
But isn't that something you're always kind of like going to be searching for as you start new acts and new materials, and
Yeah,
as you evolve it as a person, what you're chasing in terms of your voice may be something that changed, but not
that's
necessarily.
true.
All
Yeah, that's
AC
true.
all AC/DC albums sound the same, and
Oh
they're
God.
great.
I know. But I mean, I feel like in the beginning when you do stand up, you just want to make people laugh. And that's not necessarily the goal that I have anymore. It's my first instinct isn't to make you laugh. Now it's like, what makes me laugh?
Yeah. No, I hear
Yeah.
I feel like I hear a lot of that sentiment when comedians first start out. They do a lot of material that's not about them. It's about funny observations like you're describing, or wordplay or something like that.
Hmm.
Oh, just going to comedy shows as a audience member, the people that I connect to the most are the ones who are vulnerable and talk about themselves,
Hmm.
and I think that's, and are funny, of course. And I think that's why I asked you to be on this podcast, because I seen you perform and I'm like, oh, you know, you're someone who does that. That's
Thank you.
cool. Oh yeah, tell me more about Alan. Like what
Ellen was the reason I started doing stand up because she had her talk show and I thought she was very funny and likable. And she dressed like how I wanted to dress, although I was a closeted kid, so I didn't think I was allowed to do that. And she was just like funny and gay, but like nobody cared. And I was like, oh, like I want to be like that. And her stand up is just so good. Like if you watch her like old like HBO specials, they're so funny. Like I own them on DVD and every time I watch them still makes me laugh out loud. It's hilarious. Um so that's kind of how I started doing stand up and that's why I emulated or like my early jokes kind of around that. And then I realized I'm not her. So I'm like, what are we doing here? But yeah, I've seen her do stand up live once, I think, before she taped her Netflix special, but I've never like met her. So I would love to meet her one day. I'd probably cry.
and what would you be able to get out any words, either
Oh, I don't think
before or
so.
after
No,
tears?
no.
Not
I'd just
before
be
or
fully
after the
sobbing,
tears?
just sobbing. Maybe like after a while, I would be able to say something, but I think I would just be fully sobbing.
You guys should just text. It'd probably be better. If you wouldn't that
Yeah,
be
let me
better
just text Ellen, okay?
if you had her on rather than like this in person thing, which is harder to handle. But if you text like
That's true. Yeah. Well, that also, well, I don't have her number, so.
I'm gonna ask people this maybe because I usually ask or have asked at some point if you because people who haven't met their someone they look up to creatively, um, what would you say to them if you saw them? If you had lunch with them? How might that conversation go? But I'm gonna also ask like, well, what would you guys be texting? Would there be emojis going back and forth? Like, what would that be like?
I can't even imagine it is how out of the realm of possibility this is. Like,
dude, I'm gonna fuck with Cameo more. Like, I'm gonna try to,
yeah.
that site.
Yeah, I know Cameo. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't think she's on Cameo.
No, not Ellen, but I want to send emojis to some public figures. I think
That's funny.
and has-beens.
A lot of has-beens on Cameo.
No, but just to be on there, I mean, that means you were something at some point.
It's true. That's true.
I'm being mean. This is about the meanest I get. I think. What about you? Are you mean ever?
Oh, yes, moments? Of course. I mean, I think I'm a little bit mean on stage also.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think I'm a nice person, but sometimes I'll say stuff that's a little mean or biting.
Right. That's right. Yeah. I remember you have not an attitude, but attitude.
Oh, yes. Yes, I do have attitude on stage.
Now you hear that, Gardner.
Person. Yeah.
Now you hear that, Gardner.
Oh, okay. Hey, this will be a half podcast, half gardening show.
Yeah. No, because the manor over here needs to be taken care of.
Okay, someone lives in a manor. Okay, we get it.
Yeah. No, I mean, people could still understand what we're talking about, so it's not like people can't understand. I can't control everything. Someday I'm going to have a real studio.
There you go.
Tell me more about the journey transferring. How did that all come together?
Oh, I never wanted to go to Northwestern because it's like so close to where I grew up, and I always wanted to live in California. So I applied for schools. I really wanted to go to Stanford, did not get in twice when I originally applied and when I applied to transfer. And then I got into Berkeley, and that was close enough. So I went to Berkeley.
Did you plan to like pursue comedy, improv at this point, or were you still what was your major? Did you have a major, did you say?
Yeah, I changed my major like 10 times. I ended up majoring.
That's awesome too. I love that.
I told you again, I did not want to be in school anymore. No, I ended up majoring in Asian American and Asian diaspora studies, which means I studied a lot about like race relations in America, and basically everyone who majors in that becomes like a professor, and I didn't want to do that, but I had the most credits in that, so I graduated with that. But yeah, I wanted to do comedy still when I was transferring because I was a junior at that point, but I don't think I had committed fully to deciding I was going to be a comedian afterwards. I just was like, we'll still keep doing comedy, and I was looking for places, and yeah. I think I still wasn't 21 yet when I transferred. So I had to do like open mics that weren't in bars, and I didn't have a fake ID because I'm not cool enough to get one. I'm sure I could have if I asked the right person, but I was too afraid to do that. So I had to do any open mics that I was either allowed to step into a bar and do, or just not at a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What were the differences? Did you notice any differences between the scenes, or just from your personal experiences, like the audiences, or something about just doing comedy in Chicago versus doing comedy in Berkeley?
I mean, I did comedy in Chicago when I was so new at comedy, but everyone was very nice. But I will say, I think the comedy scene in the Bay Area is more diverse than in Chicago, just demographically speaking. That's kind of how it works out. So, and I had a lot of friends like doing stand-up in Chicago, but I did kind of feel better when the scene was a little bit more diverse because I felt like I fit in a little better. Yeah.
Tell me more about Berkeley experience and doing comedy there, and I guess the journey down to LA at some point. I'll let you tell the chronology of. I
mean, I basically just kept doing shows and open mics, and then I got past at some clubs in the Bay, and I think I moved to LA like 2 years ago now. Although one of those years was the pandemic, so I don't know if that counts. But I think I moved about 2 years ago. And yeah, I mean, I moved because I was either going to move to LA or New York because I feel like that's where everyone moves if you want to be
Sure.
going somewhere in stand up. That's just how it is. And I never wanted to live in New York. I still don't really want to live in New York unless I got a job in New York. It's not my favorite city. It's fun to visit, but
Not for everyone.
it's not. And the winters are brutal. And I'm from Chicago. I don't need to do winters again. I'm done with winter. So I was like, I'll move to LA. And yeah, I moved down here. It was hard for the first year, which everyone told me it would be. Just because you don't know where anything is. Moving sucks. I never know where you don't have your go-to places to go. You know what I mean? You're like, I don't know where I eat. I don't know where I shop. I don't know what highways or what. And you kind of only hang out with people in LA at comedy shows or if they live in your neighborhood. So I would only see like a couple friends of mine that lived close by. It's so hard to make plans with someone in LA that lives like even 20 minutes driving from you.
Yeah, I've had a little bit of this experience living in the city for quite some time.
I don't know why. And because again, I'm from Chicago, like I'm from the suburbs. Like we would drive places to hang out. Like we'd go to the mall. And that's like 15, 20 minutes away, but it was fine. Like nobody cared. But in LA, it seems like such a big deal to drive 20 minutes. You're like, oh, yes, I'll come meet you in West Hollywood or whatever.
I guess because driving is like, it's crazy out there. It's like it is even though it's like, sometimes it's nice to drive through some scenic parts of Los Angeles and there's not traffic all the time everywhere. But yeah. I don't know. The more I live, the more I realize that, like, especially here, like people are insane and there's so many cars. It's dangerous out there.
It's true.
I'm staying here.
Traffic isn't even bad now, though, because not that many people are commuting.
Right. It's been better.
Still, I don't want to drive.
Yeah. Should we talk about the weather, too? We covered traffic and...
Yeah. Talk about traffic. Talk about the weather. Classic.
Basic.
Talk about LA.
All the stuff in no, I'm not going to say that's in your act. We don't talk about that in your act. Cool. I mean, what about within the comedy scene itself? Have you had like good experiences in general in Berkeley and in Los Angeles dealing with other comics, drama, backstabbing, stuff like that going on, or supportive world?
No, I think everyone's supportive, and I get along with pretty much everybody. I never find out about the drama till later. Right. Nobody tells me about the drama.
So that's how I feel. That's probably a good thing, though. I think that's a good sign.
Yeah, it's probably good, but I want to know. Like, I want to know the beef. Just nobody tells me until it gets brought up, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? They're like, oh, this beef. And I'm like, I didn't even know it existed.
Isn't that just a distraction? Other people's beefs and dramas?
Yeah, but sometimes you want to watch a trashy reality show, Right. Just once in a while. Clue me in.
It makes us feel better about our own selves and our own situations.
Yeah, I'm not like, on some level. I'm not occupying my time thinking about it, but like, if we're hanging out, I want to know.
Yeah, that's true. The worst thing is when somebody tells you like part of the story or something. Oh, I can't tell you the rest or something. Someone whets your appetite.
I can't tell you. And you're like, all right, well, why did you start telling me then?
Yeah. What the hell? And what about some of the other challenges in comedy in Los Angeles in the last couple of years? What have you noticed?
There's just like not really that much comedy right now. That's the big challenge.
I was saying I was gonna ask, pandemic aside, like even before then like what did you notice were the challenge?
It's hard to get in at the clubs if you're not in yet. So I was like trying to work on
stage time.
Yeah, it's just stage time. It's hard because you're competing against people who are literally famous and who've been doing comedy forever, and there's just so many comedians down here. So that's probably the hardest part. And now there's so little stage time. So.
Yeah, that stinks. But hopefully there'll be more soon.
Yeah, there will be. It just is going to take some time.
Yeah, because like comedy, like everyone's have been talking to saying, is something that's meant to be with people closely packed together and
Yeah.
indoors and small venue or whatever it is. That's how it's kind of
Yeah.
like best. You
Yeah.
miss it?
Oh, of course. All the
Yeah.
time.
Is it like driving you insane, or is it just like you're just dealing with it? Because I feel like there's a scale of like how badly comedians need stage
Yeah.
time.
I
How,
mean,
but
it was worse before when we were doing the full lockdown and there were no shows anywhere. Now that there's
right?
outdoor shows, it's better because I'll have a little bit of stage time, or at least I can go hang out at a show and like leave and feel like I'm a comedian. Like when you're just stuck inside, staring at your laptop doing Zoom shows or whatever, it's like I don't have a job or an identity. What do I even do?
You're losing your identity
Yeah,
again.
what do I do?
It's,
Yeah,
why is
nothing.
that always? Why is that being challenged? Is that something that challenges us at different points in our life? Our identity is something that we're always kind of exploring. Is
I
that a
think that
thing?
happens for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah,
everyone goes through an identity crisis. I mean, like the whole thing is like everyone has a midlife crisis, right? When you're like, who am I? What am I doing?
yeah.
Have I wasted my entire life? So it's kind of what it feels like.
To be human.
Yes.
What a time to be alive.
What a
Would you?
very, very strange time to be alive.
Oh yeah. Would you want to go to another time, past or present, even just to visit?
I would love to go back to the 90s.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
live or just to visit or like.
I don't know. Well, because I was a child in the 90s. So I don't know if it was actually the best time or if I just have that nostalgia because I was a kid. So
Yeah,
I want to see what the 90s were really like.
I think it's probably the best time is always the present time, probably.
No, I mean, we're still in a pandemic. This is not the best time.
No, well, not. But that aside, but there's other things like I don't know. I always think about how it's better to be probably poor in the present times than to be a king in like the 1500s without like any modern medicine, like
Yeah, I mean, I'm
kind
not
of
trying to go
stuff.
back to the 1500s. I'm trying to go back like 20 years ago.
Some people are into that, like some of that British
Yeah,
content. Like people are like, oh, I want to
that's
go
true.
back to the. You into that stuff? I don't get into a lot of the royalty TV
No, no.
culture, any of it.
I have not gotten into that at all.
Yeah, no, that's good too. Not that I'm hating on people who don't, just not for me. I have a hard time following sometimes those British. I put the words on. You put the words on when you watch stuff or no?
I do actually do a lot of subtitles when I watch stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, unless it's like a movie that I've seen 4,000 times, then I
Hmm.
don't use it. What about like I mean what are you up to now? How have you been thriving and surviving and keeping busy without a lot of stage time in the last year or so?
Yeah, I'm trying to get my life together personally, put together a schedule and stick to it, which I've kind of been bad about the last few years. I don't know, reading again, trying to write more, still doing stand up in ways that I can, like either outdoors or online. Um, hanging out with people
Yeah,
outside, walking.
making the best. You're making the
Yeah.
best. Making the best. What are you writing? Are you writing stuff for yourself to act and perform in kind of thing?
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, just like writing a pilot, trying to write some stuff for me to be in.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Yeah.
Keep at it. You look so excited. You have a not excited look. I'm like more excited. I'm more excited about it.
Oh,
I want to read what she's writing. I want to see it on the screen. Like I kind of
I just feel like the longer that you live in LA and do comedy, the more you're just like, nothing's that exciting unless it's actively happening.
right.
So, and I'm auditioning for stuff too, is probably what I spend a lot of half the time doing is just like doing like voiceover auditions or like acting stuff. And you don't get like 90% of 99% of the things you
It's
audition for,
tough.
you don't get. So it's like, it's hard to be excited about stuff. You know what I mean? Because they're
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to turn in the audition and then nothing's going to happen. But that's just all part of it. So you're like, okay, I'm going to do it. Great. Here you go. And then you have to just forget about it because otherwise you'll just be disappointed like 4 times a day, you know?
Yeah. and I'm guessing that stand up kind of like helped alleviate some of that, being able to get on the stage and express yourself more regularly, and that's been taken away. So
Sure.
that stinks, even though you're doing other things to try to fill that
Right.
void, so to speak. But
I
I'm
mean,
sorry.
we do stand up because like you get that immediate response, so you
Right.
know if you did well or you didn't do well, and auditioning and writing and stuff like that, you don't get that immediate feedback. Like you don't know if it's good, you don't know what other people are going to think about it. And you're just doing it and you're like, I hope this is good. I hope people like this. I have no idea.
And is it that attitude that you're expressing right now that enables you to keep on that path and keep trying? Yeah, and even without having really any or little control, like you know, the
Um
results.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just like this is all part of it. I'm just going to do the best that I can and let it go. That's kind of the only way I'm looking at it now.
Did you? Yeah, you said now. So have you not always had that? That's something you have to learn over time. That had a
Um
stomach. You know,
yeah,
not.
I mean,
I don't even want to say rejection, but it's just the
it's
nature of the
kind of
beast.
it basically is rejection.
Right.
No, I mean, I've always kind of had that attitude, but I think more so now I really just do not care. You know,
Yeah.
you have to just not care.
Yeah.
Otherwise,
You
you'll
got to get
feel
excited
bad.
though. You got to get excited though. I don't know why I'm telling you that.
I
I
don't
want to
know why
fire.
you're telling me that either,
I'm
but
trying to fire you up for something.
I really don't get that excited that easily
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
often. That's
I
kind of
see.
my this is my go-to.
Yeah. What was the last thing that excited you? But you could still not be expressive, but on the inside be excited. But what was the last thing that excited you on the
Yeah.
inside? We'll
I
start
I
with that.
really don't get excited. You know, the only amount of excitement I really get is I'll get nervous or anxious. That's
That's
like
not
me
good
excited.
excitement.
No, I don't get good excitement. I don't think. I don't remember
Yeah.
the last time I was actually excited.
Yeah. But you know what you are?
What?
I think you're content because even like when you were as a kid, you to some degree, are you
Yes.
or at least defaulting to that for the most
Yeah,
part?
yeah. I think when I was a kid, I was content slash happy, and now as an adult, right now, I feel like I am content.
Yeah.
I would not say I'm happy, because how can you be happy when the world is crumbling before us? But I am content.
But is it though? It's not all bad.
Oh,
I like excitement and I want to be happy, but I need to be more like you. I need to be more content and calm
no,
down.
I should probably be more excited and happy. I mean, again, I'm
We'll
trying to be
switch.
I'm being positive. This is my year of being positive. I think things will work out. However, I do think that climate change is going to ruin all of our lives, and we're all going to die either from that or war or famine, and that is just what it is.
No, but we can have that conversation some other time.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just saying it's going to happen within our lifetime. It's just not going to happen now. So I'm trying to be positive now.
It's not happening within our lifetime. But and the thing is, we'll all be dead, and then the Earth will undo whatever we did if it kills us.
That's
So
no,
then
that's
the Earth
true.
will be
That's true.
okay.
That's true.
And
But we'll be dead is the key point. Is we will all die at the same time.
at the same time,
Yeah.
we'll cross that bridge. There'll be some life left. There'll be some bugs and things
No,
left.
there'll be other animals alive
Yeah,
for sure. Human beings will all be dead.
except for my gardener who will be still out there cutting the grass.
He'll still be gardening. There's like, oh, I mean, no one else is here. I have to do it.
He'll no, I'll die, and then he'll like look at my dead body and be like, I'm done now. I'm all set. Oh man, what a time. Well, I definitely appreciate your time. I feel like we covered a lot. We covered Ellen, we covered comedy, we covered Chicago, LA,
We
a
yes,
couple of
we covered the
identity
impending
crises.
a lot of identity crises, world crisis. We covered it all.
Yeah, but we solved some mysteries too along the way, I think.
That's true.
we did. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, follow you, anything else you're working on, anything else you want to talk about? I'll kind of give you the floor and then let you get
Cool.
out of here.
Yeah, just follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at Irene_2. That's my last name, which is TU. That's how you spell it. Very easy. Follow me. I'm doing stand up occasionally, sometimes outdoors right now. And yeah, if you follow me, you'll get the updates. There's nothing else really happening.
Well, sounds good. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you perform again soon, somewhere outdoors, indoors. We'll figure it out.
Yes.
Oh, you got it. Have a good day.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh,
Thanks,
you got
Adam.
it later. So there you have it. My conversation with Irene, too. That was fun. I really appreciate Irene taking the time. Her demeanor just makes me laugh. It's funny. That science summer school girl knew what she was talking about. But anyway, for everything about this show, of course, head to peoplewelovepodcast.com and at People We Love Podcast on Instagram. I'm at Adam Choid on Instagram and Twitter. And I also have another podcast called the Unofficial Tedeschi Trucks Podcast, where I talk all about my favorite band, the 12-piece rock, soul, blues, and blues rock band, Tedeschi Trucks Band. They really transcend genre in many ways. They feature lead singer and guitar player Susan Tedeschi and her husband, lead guitar player and the best slide guitar player around, Derek Trucks. Plus horns and 2 drummers and backup singers and keyboards and more. I do solo episodes about topics and talk to musicians, journalists, photographers, fans, and anyone who loves the band. Follow at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. That's TEDESCHI at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. There's a link tree to listen, link to listen in the profile. Anyway, at People We Love Podcast as well, at Adam Choid, Instagram and Twitter. And I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks as always, and let's talk soon. Peace.